This is Seattle Real Estate Radio with your hosts, Christian Nossum and Dan Keller, mortgage expert with New American Funding. For the next hour, you'll learn impactful insider information as Christian and Dan teach about the ins and outs of Seattle's real estate market. Now, here's Christian and Dan.
Hello, good afternoon, and happy Monday, and Merry couple days late Christmas to everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Welcome to Seattle Real Estate Radio here on KKOL 1300 AM. You are. You are Dan Keller.
You do mortgages now?
No. No, I do not.
No,
this is Dan Keller, everybody. Everybody that's watching, he's waving to you.
And that's Christian Nossum, Seattle real estate expert. I like to say expert because in lending, I've had a chance to, or I have had a chance, I work with a lot of real estate professionals that like to use our team to help their clients find the right mortgage. And this guy's a cut above the rest. I'm going to tell you right now, he is one of the most phenomenal agents I've ever met, one of the brightest minds in our industry. And I don't just say that because we do a show together. Here's the thing. He's a real estate investor. He gets real estate. So,
well, thank you, Dan.
Yeah, man. Good to be here.
And this is Dan Keller. I'm gonna praise him a little right now. He is. I've been in the business for over 11 years. Mm-hmm. It took me. I tell this to everybody. Mm-hmm. It took me 6 years to find a mortgage broker that I trusted. Mm-hmm. That person was finally Dan, and that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And now I send everyone to him, at least to talk to him. Mm-hmm. You don't have to use him, but at least talk to him. Because, like you said about me, you're a cut above the rest. Yeah. You really do educate people. You don't sell them. Yeah. You want them, and you honestly want them to get the best deal for them and their situation. Yeah. And you're really good at helping them figure out what that is.
Yeah. Which is important because there are options. It's one of the largest financial decisions that you will make. So here's something really cool that I want our listeners and our viewers to know this. You and I were connected about, a little over 5 years ago by, if not the number one real estate agent in Wisconsin. You can even look him up. His name is Green Bay Greg.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's his business. It's greenbaygreg.com, I think. But he connected us from Wisconsin. You were friends with him, or you met him or at a conference, or you knew him.
I've never met him in person.
Just from social media.
Just social media.
So this guy in Wisconsin is connected to me, and he's following my mortgage blog. He's connected to you, and he's like, dude, you must work with Dan Keller. You must work with Christian. And we're like, I don't know who Christian is. You're like, I don't know who Dan is. He tells us to go get coffee, and the rest is history.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool. So and now we're friends, and all
and we do this show together. And But I mean, it's kind of a cool thing that you get to. I don't know. I like working with people that I trust, and that it takes a lot for me to recommend someone. Yeah. And that, obviously that's you.
Well, so here's the first thing. Happy New Year. This is
we're getting there. We're almost there.
Yeah, and we're doing something a little different today. We're actually recording the show to send out in the future. So just to give you an idea of where we're at, it's we're wrapping up 2015, just getting ready to bust into 2016.
Yep.
So, and what we're going to do today is essentially we're going to do once a quarter. Christian and I do what's called, and you can look this up online. It's beersandhomebuying.com.
Yep.
We do a home buyer class. And it kind of started out, you and I do a fair amount of business with Amazon employees. And it started out kind of catering to our Amazon clients and their friends and colleagues. We rent out the Cactus restaurant right next to Amazon downtown Seattle. Yeah, and host an event, a free event. We do it quarterly. It's always packed.
Yep.
And so anyways, what we thought about doing today is doing a homebuyer class for our listeners and for our future clients. And we're just going to share all of our nuggets online.
Yeah, which is, it's somewhat scary because a lot of agents could probably use what we're saying and claim it as their own. But they're not us, so it doesn't really matter. And, honestly, everybody is attracted to different people, and our style may not fit everybody, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So, Christmas is over. Mm-hmm. I know I got some extra stuff. I know the kids got a ton of extra stuff.
Yep.
I'm sure the same is true for you. We had a guest on about a month ago, Cammie Listenby with the Organizing Experts, and she taught us a very helpful tip There we go.
Well, she taught me how to clean my truck.
Well, that's still helpful, I
Yeah.
believe.
Oh, yeah.
And I've held you to that
Yep.
one. I keep
Yep.
checking on your
Yep.
truck. But she taught us something really good that I keep thinking about over and over, and that is, when you get all this new stuff, what do you do, and how do you fit it in? And basically, you just got to purge some old stuff that it's going to replace.
Yeah.
So, but that was a great episode, and people should definitely check her out.
Go back to SeattleRealEstateRadio.com. You can it'll be on the main page. You can scroll down and see the archived interview and it's on YouTube as well. So that was a very valuable guest episode. Yeah. The other thing is, as we approach the new year, everybody has New Year's resolutions. I know you've recently, both of us have recently, recommitted to fitness and nutrition and lost some weight. But, whether it be, hey, this year I want to become a real estate investor. This year I want to get my finances in order and really get dialed in with a financial planner, or really dial in my will and do some estate planning. We bring on some very high qualified guests. Go back through our archived episodes and check those out, or certainly just reach out to us and we'd be happy to connect. Yeah. So one of the things, one of our most recent guests was your mentor and your manager, Bob Wilson, talking about real estate investing. You guys are probably in the next month or so doing an investors workshop.
Yep.
We had Scott Estes come in and talk about hard money.
Yeah.
So really great resources.
Kind of what that is and how as a buyer in this market, how that could help you, how as an investor, if you ever want to flip, how that can definitely help you. He was I learned a ton.
Yeah.
It sounds cheesy, but it's so true. I learned so much from every single episode. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, it's good info.
Well, that's why we have the show for you to help you along on your journey of home ownership. But I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm learning a ton.
I'm learning
a ton as we do this. So, well, good stuff. So you want to jump right into this right now?
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of New Year's resolutions for people are, I really want to buy a house this year. A lot of people contact us at the beginning of the year, say, all right, well, what the heck do I do? How do I do this? Do I meet with a real estate agent first? Do I go to my bank and talk to them first? What do I need to do to get a house, and how does the process work? Yeah. And if they ever reach out to me first, I'll go meet them for a beer or wine or coffee or whatever and kind of get a general idea of what they're looking for. But I always send them over to you. You're kind of the first step.
Yeah.
So why don't you kind of tell me a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing, it comes down to when you're thinking about buying a home or selling a home. It's kind of a weird word, so I'm going to butcher it, but it comes down to anytime you or I are looking into making a financial decision, there's an investigatory period. Did I get it?
Yes.
That period is crucial. So that's where typically you're going out and you're gathering information. Is this the right time? Is this something, you've made the decision that, hey, this is something we may want to do this year or in a few months or now. And so what I've seen along, in my career is sometimes, not with you, and this is what I love so much about working with your clients, Christian, but a lot of the times people come to me and they're out of whack. They've started a process, so they're talking with me before they've even made up a decision on what they need to do before that. Or the flip side, they've gone out and found a home with a realtor, and they haven't even been pre-approved. They don't even have their budget in place.
Yeah, they don't even know if they can afford it, or if the monthly payment's way over their budget,
or if it
way
even makes sense.
Or
yeah. And I'm going to say this, and a lot of real estate agents listening may disagree with me, and I really don't care. But sometimes buying real estate isn't a good option or the best option for you.
It is true.
It's not always a good time to buy. And so we find this out. Timing is huge. So during this investigatory period,
good job.
You identify timing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing with you and talking to a mortgage professional is figuring out the timing part of it. So a part of this period is, hey, timing, okay, where are we at in the market? What is the market doing? One of the things that we discuss on the show, Christian, is, and we're not doing it today because this is going to be recorded and sent out, but every week we have a mortgage minute and we have a real estate update, a Seattle real estate update and a mortgage minute. So we're keeping you
in the loop on what's going on and up to date on the market.
Yeah. So I think timing and understanding where you're at in the market is really big. And so, other things to consider too is budgeting aspect, areas, investigating areas. So I think during that investigatory phase, it's a great time to start having conversations with a real estate professional. I think a good real estate professional, the first thing they're going to do is to make sure you're in good hands to look at your credit, look at your finances, and create a budget.
Yeah. And a lot of times, too, I mean, a good first step that you really help people out with and help them understand is, hey, let's just pull your credit and see if there's any weird things on there that you're not aware of that aren't supposed to be on there. Because that stuff can take some time to clean up. And if someone's 6 months out and doing something, maybe it takes 3 months or 6 months, or I don't know. It could take a while to get that stuff cleaned up sometimes. So that's a great first step. One thing that I love to do with people is once we start to identify different neighborhoods that they're looking at, hey, let's look at what the listing price was, what the asking price was, but more importantly, let's go back and see what the sales price actually ended up being. There's so few homes on the market that there's so many offers on each home. So maybe they're asking $650, it ends up selling for $795.
Yes. And that's big when you're setting up that initial search.
Exactly.
Some people during that investigatory phase, they jump to the next phase and they're like, we love these homes, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And they're listed on online at $550, but they're going to sell for $80 to $100 more possibly. So understanding the market, timing is huge. I think one of the things, I had the opportunity last month to sit down and talk with you at the same time with a new client. Basically, we timed it. Hey, I'm going to meet with you for the first time, and I'm going to have Dan come and join us. And I got to listen to you talk about, the difference in neighborhoods with condos versus townhomes versus, an HOA and single family. And I just sat there kind of almost in awe going, dang, this is good information I think everybody needs to understand. So, and then the next step with this particular client, Christian, is you set up a neighborhood tour.
Yeah. So what I love doing with people, even people that are from the Seattle area, or maybe they're outlying areas or in the suburbs or whatever, Seattle itself is made up of neighborhoods. And each neighborhood has a different vibe, has a different feel. And the same goes for Bellevue. Same goes for Redmond. There's different areas that have different vibes, and you got to figure out which one feels right for you. And so that's where you hop in my car and we go investigate. We go out and we look at stuff. We figure out where a good area might be for you.
And this is huge. This is huge during this period. So, hey, we have got to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to jump right into Home Buying 101.
We're back with Seattle Real Estate Radio with your hosts, Christian Nossum and Dan Keller.
Hello, and welcome back to Seattle Real Estate Radio here on KKOL 1300. So we're here every Monday from 3 to 4. We're chatting about Seattle real estate.
Yeah, every Monday.
And mortgages, as Dan likes to talk about, because he's the expert in that regard. And today we're doing a little different show than normal. Today we're actually walking people through the home buying process. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want to give everyone, even people that aren't necessarily thinking about buying right now, we want to give you an update on what the process looks like at this moment in time, because things are always changing. So that's kind of what the goal of today is.
Well, and how to do it right, Christian. I mean, here's the thing. Yes, things change, but here's what I've learned. I've learned it from people like you, and successful people. 1, success leaves clues. 2, just go to your Yelp page. That's proof. I mean, people are going there, and you can see all the positive Yelp reviews from just a phenomenal home buying experience. So here's the thing. It's phenomenal for a reason. You've got structure, you have systems, and you have a way of doing it right, and you've learned that from doing hundreds of transactions over the years. So that's what we're doing, is we're kind of almost doing a brain dump, a home buying class, and sharing our systems and our strategies for doing this right and doing it to avoid the catastrophic derailments that we see a lot in our industry.
Unfortunately. I don't see them, thankfully, but I hear about them.
I see. On the lending side, I see.
So thank God I don't have that issue. But I set myself up with experts that take care of that side of the business for me, so I don't necessarily see that stuff. So, Dan, let's talk about the steps to getting a mortgage and how that process works, because I know that's a big first step. So what's your number one big first step?
Yeah. Okay. So let's do this. I'm a real big, when I teach, I want to recap. So what we talked about previously before the break, we talked about the investigatory phase. So now you kind of have an idea. You've understood timing. You may have done a neighborhood tour. You may not. You may have just talked about neighborhoods. A great real estate professional, the first thing they do before they actually go out and show you homes or start getting you information on homes is to make sure that, one, you're dialed in on your budget, so you know you're not showing them $1 million homes when they really want to qualify or really want to afford a $750,000 home.
Yep.
So that's the first thing. Introducing them to a credible mortgage professional that can help navigate them through budgeting and navigate them through the pre-approval and approval process. So the first thing that I do, Christian, is I like to look at your credit. And I like to do that because your credit is going to tell me, A, how you manage your credit, first off. So it's going to give me a credit score. I can learn a lot from that. But more so, I get to see your actual debt. So from there, we're going to go and I'm going to look next. The very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at your income. And through that, I'm going to come up with a debt-to-income ratio, and I'm going to determine for you, this has nothing to do with your mortgage approval, a budget.
Yep.
And so we're going to put together some options, typically a price range. So here's what a $650,000 purchase looks like.
And this is something that you do an amazing job at. That a lot of I haven't seen any other mortgage broker do anything like this. And this is something that I love about your service is that you send out an email that has you in a little video in the corner, and you have 3 or 4 different loan options and price ranges. And you basically, in the video, you explain what each one is. So you're basically educating the client on, hey, here's what you get for $600,000. Here's what your monthly payment looks like after you account all these different things. And that's maybe here's another one at $600, but with a different loan option, with a different down payment option,
or with HOA.
Exactly. So you're doing like a 10% down, or a 5% down, or a 20% down. And when I say down, I mean down payment. Again, you don't need 20% down. You don't have to have that. Sometimes it makes sense to not wait to save up 20%. And we have a few shows that we talk about that. But and that's why, again, just if you're wondering if you need to wait or not, talk to Dan. He will tell you. He's not going to sell you on anything. He's not going to pressure you. Just talk to him.
Well, during this budgeting, so when I use a special software designed specifically for showing and creating a budget. So we're talking about values and ranges, okay? So 650, 675, 700, 725. We're talking about, 10% down versus 20% down. So this is all before we even start talking about interest rates and we start talking about pre-approval, budgeting 101. So now you have an idea. And I'm not going to present options that I know through that debt-to-income ratio that you don't qualify for.
Exactly.
So that's just me knowing that.
This is huge info. This is really what you need to get out of talking to any lender, whoever they are. This is where you need to learn where you're at because this will help guide you and direct you in the right
Well, it'll help guide and direct you as the real estate professional so you can then go back to your agent and say, hey, Christian, okay, 700 is if we find the ideal home,
and it's perfect. We don't have to do a bunch of work to it.
Yes, and no money involved. Extra money, renovations. We'll go there. But ideally, Dan's numbers, we're 635, 650. Perfect.
Yeah,
it makes your job easier.
So much easier.
Yeah,
and that's what also sets them up for success, rather than tons of frustration, tons of offers not getting accepted, which I'm hearing a lot about. Thankfully, with our system, we actually get a lot of offers accepted the first time. But that's happening out there. 13 offers was the last one I heard.
Wow.
13 offers it took someone to buy their first house.
Well, when you're prepared, it takes the risk out of it. So what we do is we spend, and now this isn't a long drawn-out period. Typically, this is same day, Christian. So you're gonna fill out our secure online link. I'm going to look at that information. I'm going to put together a budgeting report for you to look at. Now, if you take 2 or 3 days to look at it and determine where you want to be, great. So what happens next, and it's almost simultaneous, I get this out and then I start working on your pre-approval. We're going to ask you, I'm going to ask you for a lot of documentation, okay? I'm going to ask you for your last 2 years' tax returns. We may not need them on the loan approval. I want to look at those, and here's why. I want to look at everything up front so that I can be proactive in pre-underwriting your loan so that I can see I can estimate what an underwriter will ask for during the underwriting process.
Which is, again, something that separates you from the average Joe out there doing this.
It's huge. And I'm telling you right now, I do this now. I've been doing this for about 2 years. I wish I would have done that 3, 4, 5 years ago. I would have saved so much stress for my clients. So what we do next is we ask for a lot of documentation. I'm just going to tell you right now, 2 years tax returns, 2 years W-2s. If you own other real estate, I want your homeowner's insurance and mortgage statements for those properties, okay? If you're selling real estate, and if it's under contract, or if it's listed right now or under contract, or if you just sold it, I'm going to want that documentation supporting that. I'm going to want 30 days worth of your pay stubs. I want to see how you're paid. I want to look at the breakdowns. We will do a verification of employment with your employer.
Yeah. Which again, it's common.
This is all common.
Yeah.
I don't care where you go. Any bank in the U.S. will require this. It's just a matter of when. We want it up front.
Something that separates you. You ask for this stuff up front.
Yep.
Pretty much every other bank is going to ask for this after you actually find a house and get it under contract, which is not the time to do it.
Not the time.
Then you're under the gun trying to gather all this information, which sometimes can be a pain.
Yep.
By doing it up front,
get it done.
It's not as stressful for you.
Well, you're already there mentally. Yeah. Just get it done. Yeah. So, and then a couple of the final things that we're going to request is ID. I want to make sure that, hey, I love my job. And, thank God, knock on wood, I haven't been exposed to any fraudulent clients or any, suspicious activity. But I want ID. We want to verify that, again, my number one job is to educate. Second to that, Christian, is if you're out with real estate agents in the community, I value my reputation. I want to make sure when I say, hey, the Johnsons are pre-approved, they're ready to shop, that when I hand them off to you, they're ready to shop. Yeah, we're going to be able to close this. So, so we get through that process. I gather those items. I have a very, very high qualified team that reviews those documents. I took a lady that was a 14-year veteran loan processor and an assistant to an underwriter, and I hired her as my production partner. Basically, it's a fancy word for she's my assistant. She manages everything that comes in documentation-wise.
She does an awesome job.
She does everything on the back end. Bree is amazing. And what I do is I'm client-facing, realtor-facing up front. I equate it to doctor-nurse. I'm the doctor, but she's the nurse. And if you've gone to the doctor before, you spend more time with the nurse. The nurse gathers all the data, puts it in a format for the doctor to review and make it a diagnosis and a prescription, right?
Yep, that's a great way to put it.
That's how I do it.
Yep.
So we're in that process right there. The next part is I'm educating you. I'm getting you my mortgage planning playbook. It lets you know what to expect next. So during that process of fully pre-approving you and verifying everything, pre-underwriting your file, we're getting you more documentation on the process, and then it comes time for you to come in and have a mortgage planning meeting with me, and that's where we go over everything, Christian. That's where I make the diagnosis and I make the prescription if necessary for, okay, so we may need to do this with your credit report, or we may need to, you have 5% down right now. In this ballpark, you might want to save up 10%. So to get a better rate or to have a better...
Or something.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. So at that point in time, we sit down with you. We spend about an hour. And I'd like you to come into my office, but many of the times now with people's busy schedules and obviously our millennials who are high-tech, I'm meeting them at Amazon or wherever, coffee shop, pub. Yep. And we have a very detailed mortgage planning meeting, and you're off to the races after that. You're well educated, you're well informed, your realtor is well informed, and then you can make at that point in time a very aggressive offer on a home.
Which is really what the goal is. That's the goal. Your goal is to buy a house, if that is your goal. So one question that I hear a lot, and I'm sure you do as well, trying to find the best interest rate. Yeah. Tell me how you answer that.
Yeah, it's important. What I would ask you, Christian, is what's important to finding the best interest rate?
Well, people think that they want to get the best interest rate, I think, to save money.
Yeah. Well, everybody wants a deal, including myself.
Yep.
But what I tell people is versus just looking, one of the reasons why I'm a mortgage loan officer at New American Funding. My MLO. Yeah, my MLO number, anytime I mention those together, is 115349. But I need to say this. One of the reasons why I'm with New American is because we're very aggressive on product. we're very aggressive on rate and fees. Can you find a better rate out there? Absolutely. But I'm going to tell you what, you're not going to get better advice and service. And if I say something, I put my money where my mouth is.
That is definitely true.
Reputation is big. And so,
and even if they did get a better rate, it's not like a point. It's
it's an eighth or a 16th. And here's the thing, Christian. Then I ask my client, look at the total cost of that money over time.
Yeah.
To that total cost of just saving that little bit of money. So it's huge. Rate shoppers are big, but if you understand the benefit of this process that I've explained, rate takes a secondary position to that.
And that's something that I explain to all my clients, and it's a big deal. So we are going to be back after the break talking more about understanding the housing market, but also understanding the home buying process. So stay tuned, Seattle Real Estate Radio.
We're back with Seattle Real Estate Radio with your hosts, Christian Nossum and Dan Keller.
All right, so hey, welcome back to Seattle Real Estate Radio. This is our home buyer edition.
Yep.
Special edition for you, the future home buyer. So we just wrapped up the initial segment on the initial phase of preparing to purchase a home.
Yep. Establishing
your budget and getting pre-approved. One of the things that we didn't get to talk about, Christian, as we wrap that up was online investigations or looking online at rates and looking online at certain things. So here's the thing. And I want you, I'm a lender, so I don't want you to think that I'm selling you for not looking online. So I want you to endorse this, but check this out. If you see anything online that has anything to do with interest rates, it's an ad. Okay, because here's the thing. Rates move so fast throughout each and every day. It's an ad. So whatever you see online, they don't automatically update those, much like Zillow.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Get with a local, credible mortgage professional. I'm telling you this from experience, and this is why all of my clients, they get a great rate, but things go smooth because I can control the transaction.
And that's something that I preach because I sometimes, quite often, have the first interaction with people, and I'm educating them on this as well.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people do want to go with Quicken Loans or go to the Zillow mortgage marketplace or Google's new deal, which is essentially the same thing. And they all want to get the best rate because they think they don't need a person to do it.
Yeah.
Which maybe it works for some people, but I haven't seen it work successfully, especially in this market right now, where you need to be on top of stuff.
Yeah.
And the reason that I mean, if I thought that you could go online and work with some random person to get a loan, if that was the best way to do it, I'd be all about it.
Yeah, and I'd be working for an online lender or, for example, Quicken. But here's the thing. I price out our rates every single day with online lenders such as Quicken. Quicken's a fantastic company.
Maybe they're a good company.
But we're right there.
A lot of issues just trying to get their freaking loans closed.
Exactly. But as far as like rates and fees, we're right there. We're right in the ballpark. So
and I think this is part of the issue with that is when you do use a company, I'm just going to say Quicken because I've had issues with them.
Okay.
I've never had good experiences with them. Maybe I should say that as well, where maybe the client, maybe my buyer is getting a better deal, a better price. But really in the end, when Quicken delays the purchase by 15 days and the client has to pay $100 a day for 15 days to extend, or maybe it's not $1,500, maybe it's $500, or maybe it's $250, whatever the price
and the
is.
Stress, you can't put a price tag on that stress.
And then you got the moving company that's sitting there with all your stuff and you're delaying them and all that. Yeah. That stuff all adds up.
Yeah.
Whereas you could go with Dan, and this is me. I know exactly what you're going to get. It's going to be super stress-free. Yeah. I couldn't tell you how many people, when I'm giving them their keys after the process, they go, really, this is it?
Yeah.
Are there more steps?
Yeah.
And we're like, no, that's really it.
It's recorded.
Yeah, it's done. It's official. Yeah. You now own a home.
So, I mean, the whole purpose of this discussion, though, is online. And I'm going to transition to real estate. Same thing. We're in Seattle area. Zillow's big around here. The same holds true with real estate information you're going to get on Zillow. Is it accurate?
No.
Yeah.
And the reason why. So, Zillow's good in some markets around the country. In Seattle, it's not, even though they're a Seattle company, which is kind of funny. but they don't get a direct data feed. So they don't get their information online directly updated from the Northwest MLS, which is where every local Seattle real estate agent puts their listings. So every time I get a house for sale, I represent the seller, I put that information into the MLS. It auto-populates numerous websites. Zillow is definitely not one of them. And Zillow in Seattle relies on real estate agents to manually input all their stuff. The average age of a real estate agent is 60 years old. Nothing against 60-year-olds, but they're not always the most tech savvy.
Yeah.
And they're not always the ones that are doing it correctly when it comes to, especially on the real estate side of things. Real estate agents, first of all, in general, aren't generally really tech savvy anyway. So but they're manually inputting.
They're manually,
and you're seeing stuff that's really old on there, or that you're not even seeing a lot of houses.
May not be current, up to the minute info. Again, the reason why you don't necessarily want to trust, or you don't want to trust anything that you see online because you want to verify it. Yeah. Okay, so client comes to you, Christian. They've completed the pre-approval process. They're ready to go. They know their budget. They're dialed in. Take it.
So the two things I educate people on, and that I feel everyone needs to be educated on, is the process, which we're going over today, and the market. Okay. And when I'm talking about the market, I'm talking about the hyper-local market, the neighborhoods you really want to be in. And how the process works is, let's say that you want to be in Green Lake, Finney Ridge, Fremont, Wallingford. You want to be right in that area.
Yeah.
Say your max budget's $750. All right, well, let's pull up over the last 30, 60, maybe 90 days, maybe sold homes. Not stuff that's for sale, sold homes. Because in this market, you're getting multiple offers on pretty much everything. So say the house was initially listed at $550. It might sell for $750 because it was underpriced to begin with. And it probably should have been priced at $7, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon to pay $100,000 more than the asking price, which boggles some people's minds. But this is why it's so important to be educated on the market in the neighborhoods you want to be in. If you know what a good deal is, because you know what homes are actually selling for, then it's all good. You don't care if you're paying, quote unquote, paying $100,000 more than what they asked. Because it was underpriced to begin with. It was a stupid price that probably shouldn't have been there to begin with, but it is. And now they got 13 offers on it, and it jumped up to $150,000 more, or whatever the number is. But don't let that scare you. All you care about is, hey, does $750 make sense for this house in this neighborhood? Yeah, if you're educated on the market, you're going to know that. And that's my job, is to get you up to speed on that. So we're going to look at those stats so that you know what a good deal is and what a good deal isn't in the markets that you are looking in. And maybe after looking at that, you realize, hey, you know, the house that we really want doesn't make sense in these neighborhoods. We got to expand our search.
Well, what I want to do, I'm going to interrupt you real quick, because I think as a first-time home buyer or move up or even a move down home buyer, you need this in your real estate agent. I see so many people devaluing because the waters have been muddied with anybody and everybody getting into real estate. The barrier of entry is so low.
It's super low.
But here's the thing. This is what I love about you, and this is what I've just learned. And this is probably why when we work together, our transactions seem to go fairly smooth, because you do this. I want you to understand the importance of this if you're listening. What Christian does, immediately he runs a 30 to 60-day sold record directly from the MLS. So it's relevant information. But what you just said, this is the kicker. You look at what it was originally listed at. So if it sold at $780, it might have been listed at $650. So that's giving you a pulse on what the market's doing in the last 30 days. Guys, that's huge information.
It's huge because that educates you on what you need to do in order to get a house.
Okay.
And you know what's normal for that market. Yeah. So it just preps you. That's all we're doing.
So you're educating them there. You're looking at homes. You're giving them your feedback. You're an advisor. Now touring homes. That next step, obviously, your home search is active. You're touring homes.
Yep. Okay. So what people are doing is, honestly, a lot of times, I mean, I'm doing stuff where I'm meeting people face to face. So I'm not in front of my computer sitting at an office all day. People generally find homes online before I find them a lot of times. And it's just because, again, I'm face to face with people and they're sitting at work not working, looking at homes.
Yeah. That's how it
which is pretty common.
Yep.
And so when they see stuff that they like, they text me,
Mm-hmm.
email me, call me, whatever, and they say, hey, this place just came on, or these 3 places just came on today. I really like them. What do you think? Should we check them out? I'll look at them. I'll review them, and I'll say, hey, you know what? Your top budget is $750. This one came on at $7. It's probably going to go for $8, maybe $825. And then if they question that, if they're, oh, well, I don't think that's true, we'll go back and we'll look at solds again and asking prices and see, hey, does that make sense? Does that line up? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe we actually do go out and look at it. But I'm going to tell you up front, this one probably you're just going to waste your time. There's no point in doing that. It's going to sell for way more. Then after that, while we're out looking at actual homes, I mean, I pay attention to the inspections. I've sold hundreds of homes. Every single time, buyers are getting home inspections.
Yes.
I'm following the inspector.
Yeah.
I love learning about homes. So when we're looking at stuff or at homes in person, I'm looking for issues. I'm looking up. I'm looking to see if there's water damage. I'm looking at the pipes to see if they're old galvanized steel pipes, if they're copper, if they're PEX. I'm looking at the wiring, seeing if there's active knob and tube, which, as we learned from Tyler Curley, who is the owner of Path Insurance, getting knob and tube wiring, it's kind of tough to get homeowners insurance with that. And if you do get it, it's going to be more expensive. So that's a cost that you need to factor in because you might have to replace that in order to stay with your homeowners insurance.
Okay, so again, time out. It's so important to understand this when you're looking for a real estate professional. A Seattle real estate agent, there's so much that is involved in Seattle real estate.
It's
condos, townhomes, understanding those. And Seattle real estate in general, in those 4 areas, those neighborhoods that you were just discussing, older homes, Fremont, maybe some brand new or newer townhomes. So you being an active real estate investor, you being present and looking at inspection reports and studying real estate, that's huge, you guys. Again, anybody can sell real estate.
It's saving people money and time and effort because I'm saying, let's walk away from this house before they even get invested.
You've talked people out of, I've had clients say, Christian talked us out of this home, and we just did our client appreciation party, and a couple of them even said that. You actually talked us out of buying a home.
Yep. And I talk people out of buying houses way more than I ever talk them into it. I don't talk people into it. They can, when you're educated on the process and the market, you know what's a good deal. You know what's good for your budget and your situation. I don't have to sell you. No. There's no point. But I will talk you out of stuff. And I do that quite often. So then after that, let's say you found a house. Then we're going to talk about actually making an offer. So I write offers up for you, the buyer, the same exact way I'd write it up for myself if I were in your shoes. So you better believe that I'm making sure that you're protected every possible way based on how much I think we can get out of the seller. But the market conditions right now, it's tough. I mean, you're trying to eliminate as many contingencies as possible.
Strategy matters. So listen, we've got to talk about this because I don't want to give your secrets away. And it doesn't really matter. You and I come from a position of giving anyways. And stay with us. When we come back, we are going to talk strategy. You're not going to want to miss this.
Time for more Seattle Real Estate Radio with your hosts, Christian Nossum and Dan Keller.
All right. So, hey, welcome back to our home buyer edition of Seattle Real Estate Radio right here on 1300 KKOL. This is a phenomenal, not only a phenomenal broadcast today, but what we're talking about, this is the meat and the potatoes of not just buying a home, but successfully and smoothly, that's right, buying a home in today's real estate market. And today, Christian, it's competitive as ever.
Yeah. I've never seen it more competitive.
No.
Inventory is just so low. There's so much cash out there, all cash offers, and there's just a ton of buyers.
Well, we just finished a few minutes ago before we went to break talking about strategy. I want to come back talking about that because this is, again, this is where you are winning and where you're standing out in this marketplace with your clients. So, okay, let's talk about strategy and why your strategy matters when it comes to writing an offer.
So a big part of how you get your offer accepted is who the team your agent has put together is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the team members are home inspector, sewer scope inspector if you're going to go that route, which you probably should. And big one, you, a lender, who that person is and how quick they are at getting stuff done. So title and escrow are kind of important, but they're not going to slow or speed up the process at all. So that's not that big a deal. But having an inspector that's almost on call, willing to do things, that's a big deal. And I have an inspector, we had him on, Jeff Keller.
Yeah.
Alki Inspections.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Smart guy.
Smart.
He's basically retired. He doesn't have to do this.
Former builder.
Former builder.
Yeah.
He only works with a few agents. And he probably, I don't know how many days a week he works, but probably does one inspection every day or two. He's not on a tight schedule.
Yeah.
He'll do what it takes to look at a house and really go the extra mile, but he's available.
Yeah.
In this market where you got to do a pre-inspection and you only have 1 day notice, he's probably free. And if he's not, he'll move stuff around to make himself free.
Well, when we do our live events, our live homebuyer classes, homebuyers do raise their hand and they talk to us. I don't get why the team and why having a home inspector and how that plays into writing a competitive offer with the listing agent and the seller. Well, here's what it does. You just mentioned pre-inspection. If the seller's reviewing offers in 2 days and an inspector's not available to do a pre-inspection,
you no longer have a pre-inspection done, and your offer is in a worse situation, much worse.
There you go.
So I'm going to lay out just real quick, and then I'll take a step back.
Cool.
So the simple things you need to do or not do in your offer are as follows.
Okay.
1, you need to know what price you're going to escalate up to. It's not going to sell in this market. It's not going to sell for the asking price. So we have to be, again, educated on the market. You got to know, okay, well, I can go up to $750. That's my max.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily going to go to my max, but based on what I think things are going for in my price range, here's what I'm comfortable going up to. So let's say it's $725, because that's what I think homes in this that match this are going to go for. So that's my top. How am I going to set up that escalation clause? So what an escalation clause, it's similar to eBay, where you say, okay, well, I'm willing to go up to $725, but I'm going to start my offer at $675. That's the asking price of the house. I'm going to start at $675. I'm going to go in increments of $2,500, $5,000, $10,000, whatever I think is smart for you to go up to be competitive. I'm going to recommend a number. Let's say it's $5,000. So I'm going to beat any other offer up to your cap of $725 by $5,000. So let's say the next highest offer is $715. You're now paying $720. So that's now your price. You got your offer accepted. You're at $720. The next thing that we're doing is we're figuring out, okay, well, there's a couple other secrets in there that I'm not going to reveal online or on
you
here.
got to meet one-on-one.
Yeah. But there's some other ways that you can make this very appealing to people. Then you're going to go and you're going to talk about whether or not you should do a pre-inspection. Most of the time, you're going to have to do that. Do I like having to do that? No, I'd rather not have you spend your money up front, because what this is, a pre-inspection, let's take a step back. A normal transaction is you get your offer accepted, you do the inspection. In today's market, you're doing your inspection before you get your house or your offer accepted. So you're paying the inspector to go through the house and tell you what issues there are before you even know if you got your offer accepted. But the reason you're doing this is because you're trying to eliminate as many contingencies as possible.
So you're doing that so that you're waiving your inspection contingency.
Exactly.
Because on a normal deal, on a normal transaction, you can actually get out of the transaction per the inspection.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can back out for any reason during the inspection in a normal seller's market.
In this particular case, though, you're doing a pre-inspection because when you negotiate, you're eliminating as many contingencies as possible, thus waiving your inspection.
Correct.
Buying the home as is.
Correct.
Boom. Okay.
Correct. Yep. So the next thing that we're looking at is the financing. Okay. That's a huge one. Do you want to waive your financing? Do you want to waive your appraisal? Now, what that means is your financing contingency. That is basically it's basically a get-out-of-jail-free card if you can't get the loan. That's the easy way to explain it. If you're already fully approved for the loan, which you do for people right up front.
Fully underwritten.
I
will not allow a client to waive their financing unless they've already been through underwriting. That needs to be noted, Christian.
Yep.
You're taking an earnest money risk of whatever your earnest money is, 20 or 30 grand. You're taking a huge risk. A pre-approval is not good enough, in my opinion, to waive your financing.
And people are doing it,
They're doing it, dude.
It's scary.
Yeah, not good.
No. So if you're comfortable and you're educated on what that means, then we're going to waive that. Sometimes we're not waiving the appraisal portion of that, though, which is a separate portion that you can remove from there. The appraisal is basically when the bank that's giving you the loan, they send out a neutral third party to figure out, hey, is the house worth what you're paying? So let's say you got your $720 offer accepted. They're going out there and they're going, okay, well, is it worth $720? They'll look at previous sold properties within usually a half-mile radius within the last 6 months, because that's how far they go back. They want the sooner or the earlier the better, but they'll go back as long as 6 months if need be. Since you have been educated on this already, you know that this is not going to be an issue. Yeah, because you're smart. You know the market. You've been educated. So most of the time you know that this is not going to be an issue. But just in case, the bank does this anyways. That's what they always do. So, but you have the option to waive that as well.
Thus tightening up the contract.
Exactly.
The offer.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a couple other ones in there that are just smaller, title, things like that. But we don't really
You're never going to waive title. Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of how you're setting up your offer. Okay. I'll go over all these things more in depth when we're meeting up in person and we're coming to it. But that's kind of the process of making an offer.
Great. Okay, so the offer's been obviously accepted. Appraisal's been done. The underwriter does have to go back in and actually underwrite that appraisal. So I'm going to kick this back to me real quick. So at that point in time, it comes back to the lender. The lender is then going to go back into underwrite the appraisal and any minor things that we've needed to gather in the meantime. That's how I do it. This is not what happens at other banks. At this point in time at other banks, now they're fully underwriting the file, which is dangerous. So anyways, at our bank, we're just going to underwrite the appraisal, and what we're going to do now is clear us to close. Now I'm going to hand the baton back to you. We're ready to close.
And that's when the escrow company's calling us up. They're setting your signing appointment for you to sign all your loan documents. Dan and I like to be there. If we can't, we'll either be there via FaceTime or something, or we'll be available on the phone.
I'm going to tell you, I'm either there live or I'm right here on the phone. If I'm in a meeting and I can't make it, the clients know to text me if there's an issue or question. Guys, I do what's called a pre-funding review. I review all of the loan documents with the client the night before. There's never any questions.
But just in case there are, we're there.
Okay.
So then that night, whatever the day of closing is, we're meeting up. Usually between 4:30 and 6 is when we're getting the call from the escrow company saying that it's official. You're now a homeowner. Then I'm giving you the keys that night at some point.
What makes it official?
Not all your loan docs, but your deed is basically recorded at the court
with the county. Okay.
Yep.
And that'll happen before 5 o'clock, typically in King County.
Yeah, but we sometimes don't hear back until after 6 because the escrow company's slow at calling back. So they're calling everybody.
So you close on your home. Christian hands you keys. Life is good. You do something that's unique. Talk about it for about 20 or 30 seconds.
What we do at that point, as a thank you for choosing me, is I throw you a housewarming party. It's pretty fun.
It is.
I cater it with our favorite Mediterranean Express restaurant. I send out all the invitations. And then we have a ton of fun.
Ton of fun. Here's the thing. If you want to meet one-on-one for a consultation, our contact information is down below. Seattle Real Estate Radio is how you can reach both of us. And I hope you got value out of this. I'm certain you did.
Yeah.
You rock, man.
Yeah, so do you. Great job, Dan.
Yeah.
Dan's website, mymortgageguydan.com. And I'm awesomeNossum.com.
That's SeattleRealEstateRadio.com. And be sure to tune in again next Monday at 3 for more Seattle Real Estate Radio with your hosts, Christian Nossum and Dan Keller, mortgage expert with New American Funding, right here on Business Radio 1300 KKOL.